Hey guys, Chauncey Phillips here. Welcome to a brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Today there's actually some stuff I'm looking for. There's three different of these releases. They're ones that I feel like are only going to be in Walmart. They might have them somewhere else, or there may be ones that I have to end up getting offline. But there's one of them that I really want the most, which is called Curve. Well, I'll see if they have the other ones. I might get like one or two of them. I'm not sure if I am or not. Also going to have some reviews at the end of this video. I have a couple different things that I've checked out. And, you know, I'll have my main DVD Blu-ray update up this Saturday as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But I wanted to split it up, so I've got a bunch of different ones at the end of this. Especially one horror movie that a lot of people have asked me about. So we talk about that at the end of this video. So anyway, though, guys, let's get going and see what we can find today. Into Target we go. They actually have this one in here, Visions. They don't have Curve. Curve was the one that I really wanted to get, but I might check this one out. Hopefully I can find Curve. I may get this. It's only $12.99 here, so that's not bad. This one also came out today, Man Up, the Simon Pegg Lake Bell one. Haven't heard too much about this one. Let me know if this one is worth checking out. Also, our brand is Chaos, which I heard was not that great. Came out today as well as The Last Witch Hunter. And I think Bridge of Spies was here today, came out today as well. Yeah, so I ended up getting that Visions in there, the Visions DVD. I know the movies are on Netflix, but I wanted to find the copies of them, the actual physical copies of them. Hopefully down the line they actually do a physical copy, another one of those Blumhouse ones. But it's really only got released to Netflix and on demand, The Creep. That was a really, really cool movie. Would love if they did like a copy of that at some point. I think they're actually going to be doing like 2 more Creep movies at some point, I believe they are. But like I said, the other one I really want to find is that one, Curve, and the director of that one directed Hackers, which I always loved that movie, U.N.C.L.E. So hopefully I can find that. Like I said, if not, worst case I have to just get it off of Amazon. I think it's like 15 on there or so, but I feel like Walmart is the place that may have it, so we'll see. Into Walmart we go. That's funny, one thing that came out today, I didn't even know they made another one, was a new Land Before Time movie, all new movie. It looks like it's only at Walmart, so I guess you can only get this new Land Before Time movie only at Walmart. I don't know, that's kind of interesting. Like, they haven't made a new one in a long, long time, I think. I think it's been a number of years since they've done one. Yeah, one of the things that came out today was The Martyrs. I'm going to review this at the end of this video, and I actually like this okay. It really was not bad, at least to me it wasn't. I kind of like that. There's a bunch of different things in here today. There's one called The Jogger, so I don't know too much about this one. It's some kind of like, I have to look what this one is, but kind of a strange cover on that. But they actually have the Curve in here, so I'm definitely going to get this. It's $12.96 in here as well. So, like I said, I know these are on, Netflix, but I still wanted to get the physical copies of this one. And I'm probably going to get this other one as well, The Veil, just so I have all 3 of these ones. I've heard like mixed things on these, but like I said, I like Jessica Alba too, so definitely going to get this one as well. And I think this was today, somebody called The Piper. I think like an Asian horror film, and I think Robert was today as well. There's a lot of different stuff. The Keeping Room, which I don't know too much about this one, but this one looked like it could have been kind of interesting. There's a lot of stuff, and then this one, they made another movie about the Krays, the Legend one, which I really wanted to see, didn't even come to theaters. This is another like lower budget movie about the Kray brothers, which I definitely would not watch this one though over watching the Legend one, which I think comes out next month. And this thing, I don't know what this is. This is like a strange, like plain cover. I think it's like an anime thing. And also another thing today too, which I heard really bad things about, was Rock the Cash Box. Or say Rock the Cash Box. This is another one, a pretty big release this week. And this other one I don't know too much about, called Big Stone Gap, a Whoopi Goldberg movie, and then Effie Gray. So those are some of the main things today. Oh yeah, and also Zombie Fight Club, which I'm going to have a review of this in my update this weekend, Zombie Fight Club. Oh yeah, and this one was here today as well, Hellions. I'm going to have a review of this one as well in my update this weekend. Into Rubio's we go. So I ended up getting the shrimp quesadilla there. Shrimpy. Into Best Buy we go. And they have this Snow White here, this like the particular one that goes between Snow White and the Evil Queen. That's a pretty cool one. This is their edition, exclusive to here. I believe, I think this is the exclusive one. I believe, I'm not sure though, but I know this is the main one that I've seen everywhere today, this edition, which I reviewed. So I think that might be a Best Buy only one. And they also have a steelbook of The Last Witch Hunter, which I think this is an exclusive one to Best Buy. Not sure though on these. Yeah, it was a good thing I found those ones at, Walmart, because I don't see, Curve or any of those ones in here. But like I said, Zombie Fight Club, I have a review of that in this weekend's update. That came out this week. And then I believe, yeah, Free Held was this week as well. It's one I'm definitely going to check out at some point for sure. I do not know what the hell that noise is. Never heard that ever before in here. There's some other one that came out today, I believe, called Steven Dorff, American Hero, which I never heard anything about this one. I do not know about this, like from zero to superhero, so I don't know. It's one of those only at Best Buy Blu-ray release ones. And I think that was the main stuff. Yeah, like I said too, Martyrs, which I'm going to have a review of that at the end of this video. That was this week as well. But I don't see any of the other ones in here, that I found earlier. So I'm glad I was able to find those. Like I said too, this one I heard a lot of really negative things about. This one was really bad. Like, I'm sure maybe at some point I'll look at it, but and this one was today as well, Suffragette, which I don't know, I'm not too interested in that one though. So anyway, though, that's all for this DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. And like I said, I got those 3, horror releases. But now stay tuned for some new DVD and Blu-ray reviews. And of course, check out my video update this Saturday as well. And the first one I got from Anchor Bay is the Martyrs Remake, the U.S. remake, which, a lot of people have had some really mixed opinions of this and a lot of negativity about this. And to be honest, it's basically very much the same movie, but just toned down, toning down certain aspects. And I'll get into what they kind of toned down a little bit. But basically, the movie, though, is about this one girl in the beginning of the movie who, when she was a kid, was kidnapped and basically tortured. And you really don't know too much about what had happened to her, but you know bad things had happened to her in this weird kind of warehouse building with this kind of hospital-like setting. You see her running away. Years later, she's in an orphanage and becomes friends with this one girl, and they're kind of in the orphanage together. And years later, she goes and, when she's like, I guess in her early 20s, goes to get revenge and track down the people who had kidnapped her and tortured her in the beginning of the movie. Of course, she ends up tracking them down to her house. Her friend comes there with her after she's basically killed these people, that she believes had done it, and the friend thinks she's nuts and doesn't know what's going on because this girl is kind of seeing things and all this stuff happens. Of course, though, end up killing them. And then the people who are with the group of them, and whatever this group is, come back, and then both of them find themselves trapped and trapped again, and she's trapped with her, and that's basically what the movie is. But the movie's, the original movie was extreme violence. There's basically these scenes in the original of these beating scenes with the one woman that kept on going on and on and on. They toned that down. Also toned down a big thing about the end of this movie as well. I'm not gonna say what it is if you haven't seen this, but I actually rather like this. I mean, it didn't really, to be 100% honest with you, it really wasn't to me bad. It's not, if you're looking for like the kind of a mimic to the point of like the levels of extremeness of the original one, it's not that. But I actually really liked, Toby Huss in this, who played Artie, the strongest man in the world from Pete and Pete is in this, and he's like one of the main villain guys, and he's got these kind of cool lines where he's like, "I will stop the electrocution if you open your eyes. If you open your eyes, you will live. If you do not open your eyes, you will die." I don't know. I kind of like this. I really like both the actresses. I mean, I think it's worth watching, but it's not the same. It's not the same for like the extremeness of the original, though. But it really wasn't terrible. At least to me, it wasn't. It was really watchable. The next one from Mill Creek, and I always like this movie. It's the Ice Cube movie, Are We There Yet? And this is the first time this has been on Blu-ray. The second one hasn't come out to Blu-ray yet, as far as I can remember. I don't think this has come to Blu-ray before. This is basically Ice Cube, and he really likes Nia Long's character, but she's got these kids, and he's kind of like friend-zoned with her, and he finds out that he needs to, basically, he has to do something to help her out, which is basically get these kids to a certain spot, and it becomes like a road trip movie with him driving these kids, and it's this whole terrible adventure, kind of like Vacation kind of thing, of him driving there and all these kind of problems going on. I always like Ice Cube in movies. This is a really fun movie. Looks great on Blu-ray. The next one is from Big Screen Entertainment. This is an interesting movie called Mosquito Man. The one guy in this too, Ricky Wayne, I worked with years back on the movie, Haunted High or Ghostquake. So it was kind of cool to see him in this. He played one of the teachers in Haunted High. And this is basically, though, in the future, there's like these outbreak of these mosquitoes that are kind of like making everybody sick. And there's all these they're basically really dangerous mosquitoes. And this group of people are trying to kind of find a vaccine or something to kind of fight the mosquitoes. And they take in this one guy who's basically he's real depressed, he loses his job and basically about to kill himself, and they take him in and basically kidnap him and do this weird stuff to him and turn him into this weird Mosquito Man type creature. Of course, doing that was a really bad thing. So he's going around and like killing people and sucking their blood and stuff like that. And it's this whole weird thing. It's a strange kind of superhero. Kind of has like the vibe of like Spawn to it. Has on here though the theatrical version and then the director's cut of this. But it's a kind of a cool, like I said, kind of Spawn, kind of anti superhero kind of movie. The next one, and they made another movie about this character, you know, Djinn. This one they said Djinn with the D in it, but there's actually the other one called Djinn, which I liked as well. This is Toby Hooper did this movie, and it just really came under the radar that he made this movie. This is from, you know, Screen Media, and it was actually filmed in the United Arab Emirates, and it was a pretty cool setting because I don't see too many movies filmed there. Like, at least not that I can recall a whole lot of horror movies and stuff like that that are shot there. But it's basically though about that Jinn character. It's kind of is like this negative energy that's kind of going around killing people and things like that. And this family that ends up moving back to that where she lives, you know, to kind of get away from their problems and stuff like that and try and start over there. But of course, they get there and this negative vibe is there with them. It was okay. There was some kind of like unexpectedly funny moments in this, like in the one scene in the beginning and stuff like that, with these people out there by like the tombs and stuff. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like totally up to the standards of Toby Hooper things to me. The next one from Monarch Entertainment. I always like these kind of snow movies, you know, that kind of like The Thing and those kind of films. This is from, like I said, Monarch Entertainment. It's called Black Mountainside. And it's basically about these group of these people who are doing some kind of work out there in the mountains. They're kind of like in this snow lodge. And then the one night, certain people start going missing there, and they're kind of wondering where everybody is, and and they can't find them. They have no radio contact with them. They kind of find themselves like trapped out here in this mountainy snow kind of area when all these kind of weird things are starting to happen to them. It's like I said, it's got that kind of vibe of like the thing, sort of the thing kind of feel to it out there in the snow. It didn't hold my interest too much. It was all right, but not like absolutely amazing. The last thing that Monarch put out that I really liked was that movie The Sand. That was really cool. But this was an okay kind of like trapped in the snow, weird stuff going on kind of movie. The next one from Image Entertainment is this new film, you know, with Michael Pitt and John Travolta called Criminal Activities, and it was actually directed by Jackie Haley, you know, who was in Little Children, and you know when he was younger, he was in the Bad News Bears, and there's a bunch of stuff. And I believe this is like the first movie he's directed. At least I think that it is. And I thought this was actually pretty decent, like kind of thriller kind of movie. It's basically about these guys who find out about this kind of like deal when they could make this money. They make a huge investment in it. Of course, though, they ended up borrowing money from John Travolta's character, who's this dangerous kind of gangster type guy, and it's not good. He's like with the mafia kind of thing. They end up borrowing the money from him. Of course, the deal ends up falling through, and they lose all this money. They don't know how they're going to paying this back, and then John Travolta's like, well, you have to kidnap this guy for me, and that'll kind of help square your deal away. Of course, the person that they need to kidnap, you know, that they go and kidnap has like a bad ties to him, and then it causes a whole slew of problems because they kidnapped him, and then all the people kind of coming after them to try and find them for what they've done. But so it's a kind of typical kind of like kidnapping kind of movie. John Travolta was really cool in this movie. Michael Pitt was good. But like I said, that's basically what it is a kind of a kidnapping thriller film, and it has deleted scenes on here, an interview with John Travolta and the director. This one I was really interested in watching because I always go to Comic Con. I actually got the Comic Con tickets today, figured out. I was all stressed about that, but got those done. But this is a documentary, you know, Doug Benson, and he's the guy, he does stuff on YouTube when he does those videos called like Getting High with Doug, and I've seen some of them, like Danny Tamborelli was in one, Aubrey Plaza was in one. It's basically people come on there and like smoke weed with him, and that's basically what it is. And like the guy is like one of the few guys I feel like overdoses on weed a bit. But this is a documentary called Chronic Con, episode 420, A New Dope, and like I said, Doug Benson is in this. It's basically a documentary on Comic Con and his take on Morgan Spurlock did the Comic Con documentary, and it's his one. And essentially, all he's doing is going to Comic Con and kind of going there really high, and his eyes are really high. He's kind of traipses around Comic Con, talking to people. He's talking to Brian Posehn. He talks to Kevin Smith a little bit. He even finds Morgan Spurlock. And I love these kind of things just to see Comic Con documentaries. It was kind of like put together a little odd. Like, it's not the greatest documentary at all, and it kind of is like a lot of just weird sequences of stuff going on, and and they kind of had to like sort of extend it with like scenes of like talking on stage. It didn't really go a whole lot of places, but it was okay. Like, if you like Comic Con documentaries, which I always do, like I watch pretty much every documentary they ever done on Comic Con. I would say watch it mainly just like I said for being a Comic Con documentary. The next one, this is from Alchemy. It's a documentary, and the guy in this is an actor, but it's a documentary he did on his life, and he basically has never had a lot of luck with dating, but he found his one girlfriend, but he didn't want to tell his parents about that because she was an Indian as well, and the parents were kind of really like crazy on this, like because he comes from this family called the Patels, the Patels, and it's basically you like in India, like the culture is you have to marry somebody with that last name. You can marry anybody if they have that last name, and that's sort of what it is. And he found this white woman that he really liked, but he didn't want to tell his family about it, so he basically broke up because of it, because he couldn't tell his parents about it. So then he goes on this kind of quest of trying to find somebody the way his parents want him to do it, with an arranged marriage, and going around and meeting all these different women, and with the last name Patel. And that's essentially what it is. It's done. His sister filmed it, so it's got a very amateurish kind of vibe, but that was kind of the point of it. Like I said, the guy though has been in a bunch of different movies and stuff like that, but it's a decent documentary. They say it's kind of like big fat, like a real life big fat Greek wedding, and it kind of has that kind of vibe to it. The next one from Warner Brothers is this show called The Leftovers, the complete first season. This is a cool series. Liv Tyler is in this one. That basically, it's hard to talk too much about this because it's the second season, but it's basically kind of like almost like the rapture kind of thing. Something of that kind of nature has happened, and it's a certain percentage. It's like 2% of the population has kind of vanished. No one knows where they are. No one knows what happens to them. This kind of picks up where the second show left off, and it's about this family and kind of all the weird things that are going on because of these people vanishing, and people having their own opinions on what they think it is, and if they think it could be, like I said, the rapture or whatever it is, and where these people have gone, and if they're ever going to come back. That's essentially what the show is. It has on here, though, I don't think there was any features on this one as far as I can remember. But like I said, it's the complete, second season of this on Blu-ray with the HD copy of this as well. And the last one here is The Man from U.N.C.L.E, the complete second season, which is a fun kind of spy show. It's one of the earliest of these spy kind of shows about these group of these people like from the U.N.C.L.E group. They actually made a U.S. version of this. I mean not U.S. but a TV, theatrical, movie like last year of this movie. But it's basically like kind of a spy kind of show, a little bit like a more serious tone, Get Smart and things like that. But it's the group of these spy are kind of like solving cases and taking time, down bad people and crimes and stuff like that. And they have all kind of like spy devices and things like that. It's a fun show. Like I said, it has I think there was 30 episodes on this, all 30 episodes of the collection on here. The next one from Tomcat Films is Mansion of Blood. This is one that I had wanted to see for a while. It finally has come out, and I had a lot of controversy around this movie. Like Gary Busey ended up like causing all these issues on set, they said, or something had happened, and they never really finished it, and he was fired or something. There's all this kind of like hearsay on what happened with this, but they said all this kind of stuff about him. It was this kind of movie about a mansion that they kind of fixed up that was like old and had all this like history behind it. They were kind of throwing this party for this lunar eclipse like showing. And there's like this weird stuff about this woman like talking in the spirit of her old boyfriend, and then all these weird things start happening to the people at this party. Like people start dying weird deaths, and there's this one ridiculous scene of the one guy looking at this lunar eclipse of like the of a planet, and he's like, "Right, it's not real," and then like later all this like water pours on him. There's all these weird deaths and stuff happening in this. Gary Busey's totally ridiculous in this one, and especially this one old woman talking about how she used to be a ballet dancer. It's a very, very strange, odd movie, but I kind of liked it for that strangeness to it. The next one is from the UK, and this is from Wild Eye Releasing. This is called Serial Caller instead of Killer, because it's basically all these group of these girls who are working at this kind of phone sex hotline kind of thing. In the beginning of the movie, you see this kid whose mother goes in for this kind of cosmetic surgery, and she's having all these kind of surgeries. She's kind of like trying to be like a Barbie doll type, and she has all changing everything. She's going in for this last big surgery, and she ends up dying, and the kid's basically nuts. You see him like tearing up this teddy bear, and he's really strange and really odd. And it cuts to years later. These girls who are at this phone sex hotline, they kind of broadcast online. You see this one guy watching it. He basically starts calling them up and like being a fan of the whole thing, and then like one by one these girls start to kind of getting killed off, and it's like basically, is it him or is it somebody else? You don't really know, because you always see it from behind the phone if it could be that kid or whoever it is. And people basically start start dying off. You know, Debbie Rochon is in this movie. Susie Lorraine is this movie. It wasn't terrible. It was a kind of a fun, kind of like weird, kind of phone sex hotline killer movie. The next one, Wide Eye releasing as well, is called Survival Knife. And this was basically about, in the beginning of the movie, you see these group of these friends are out in the woods and they're all being attacked by this, you know, crazy killer guy wearing this mask, like, kind of like the mask that the guy on YouTube ate the Chosen One wore. And he basically, you know, he ends up going and killing these everybody except the one girl ends up escaping and killing the guy. And it's basically about her going to, like, she's kind of going to the cops, and after she has the, you know, the killings happen and everything like that, she's kind of talking to the police. Then they kind of tell her to talk to, like, a therapist. It's pretty much about her, like, talking out her problems and having, like, flashbacks to what had happened to her, and kind of trying to move on from the whole situation of all the problems that her and her friends went through. At the same time, she's kind of, like, wigging out a little bit and kind of going a little bit crazy, and she has the eye patch because her one eye was screwed up. So it's kind of like that They Color One Eye look. That's kind of what I think they were going for, was giving it that kind of a vibe. The next one, Wild Eye releasing as well, is from the Raw line. Wild Eye releasing Raw. I'm just covering the cover, so it's a little bit gory, but it's called, you know, The Thrill of a Kill, and this is like from their shot on video line, which is like the Raw line. So it's a movie from Norway, a Norwegian film. It's basically about this girl who gets in a huge fight with her mother because the mother's telling her she has to get a job, and she's there with her friends and her sister, and they're all kind of screwing around. And the one guy was kind of looking at the camera in this funny way, but, you know, she ends up basically running off into the woods. She goes out there and meets this, you know, this photographer guy. It seems like a nice guy. Of course, he's not. It's a whole bad thing about him. They're cutting back and forth to kind of the people that he's killed in the past and tortured throughout the years, and he's been at this torturing and all these crazy tortures and stuff like that he's been doing for years. And basically, though, the mother and the sister end up going out there to try and find her, and it's kind of like, are they going to fall in the hands of this guy too? And is the daughter end up going to get killed by this guy? And that was pretty much what it was. And like I said, it was a real shot on video kind of movie. You know, I think it was probably shot on, like, I don't know, like mini DV or something. So and it was filmed in full screen, so it had that real shot on VHS kind of vibe to it. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for this, you know, DVD Blu-ray video with the reviews at the end. Anyway, like I always say, if you guys enjoy these videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up, and also stay tuned for my full DVD Blu-ray update this coming Saturday. Anyway, though, thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.